Hello everyone, this is the last part of my assembly. I am doing sub-assembly of the engine. There's a lot of parts, not a perfect fit, but decent. Good amount of detail. Trying to use the Tamiya extra thin on as much as I can since that gives the best adhesion. I'm getting the dust off of the parts first. Spraying the glossy black base on so I can spray on metal colors. Same with the wheels. I've already stripped the chrome off the wheels, and then I'm going to do the same for the exhaust system here and other parts of the engine that needs metal colors. Might as well spray the gloss black base. Here's the modified suspension I'm spraying. For the interior, I'm using primer for part of it and just using that as one of the colors of the interior, gray, make it simple. So since primer is easy to spray, I don't have to load up my airbrush. Covers well. Trying to use up some old Tester's paint here and change up, have different shades of black. So here's the chassis. Make sure you get all the angles. Keep it light or else spraying all the angles is gonna start dripping if you spray heavy. Seats, tonneau cover, a little different shade here of black. Some of the other parts I'm using a Tamiya spray. I love Tamiya spray paints. Great lacquers. Trying to spray as much as I can, that way touch-up painting will be minimal. Here I'm finally spraying the body color. Make sure you use the dust brush like the Tamiya one that you saw earlier in this video. Get the dust and lint off. Just like this. Body, you can tell I sanded down. I am not using primer. So here's a good test to see not using primer if it's okay, and then you can see in this video that especially at least for Tamiya spray paints, you're totally fine. Of course, you always keep the coats light, but you know, Tamiya paint is made for plastic models, so if you're using Krylon or something else, use that primer or do a test spray first on a spoon. Keep it light just in case. You don't want it attacking the plastic. There you go. I'm making sure I get all the angles. Low angle, high angle. Then finally the flat surfaces last. You gotta get all the wheel wells under the bumpers, tops of the grille. You know, just the hard to reach places first. Then I spray a little heavier for the flat surfaces, the shiny parts, so it kind of levels out and gives you a shiny finish. See that on the roof? I bought 2 spray cans for this because it's a 1/20th scale model, slightly bigger. It'll give me enough room, enough paint to spray 3 coats at least. Here are the results of the painting. There you go. Not bad. There will always be orange peel on these paints. For this model kit, I'm not going to be wet sanding it. I just want to, it's supposed to be a quick build, so I'm going to keep this quick. If anything, I might polish it, but I feel like this is pretty, you know, already too glossy, right? Mixing up some paint here using an electric mixer, making sure you put some paint retarder in it, especially with Tamiya acrylics. Since they dry quickly, you want a smooth finish, especially if you're taking time on painting something like this. See how much time it takes, even though it's sped up? If you make a mistake or if you paint over something accidentally without the retarder, it's gonna mess up the paint finish. Here's some Vallejo Mecha Color acrylic paints, a little thinner medium in it. Helps it out a little, and a little bit of airbrush thinner. Make sure you get all the nooks Okay, so spraying some Vallejo metal color over that Alclad black base there, keeping the coats light. If it's too heavy, it doesn't look as much like metal. You can see in my previous test videos various metal paints I've tested. So here is the chrome. The original chrome plate was too shiny for the wheels, so I opted for a very shiny paint instead. Mr. Color paints are lacquers, so those are very good paints. I use some super glue Instaflex for some of these parts where I feel like the fit won't be perfect, or when I'm putting other pieces together, a chassis and their body, there will be some sort of flex, so I didn't want it to just crack right off. This is why I glue this afterwards. This exhaust pipe never aligns right, especially with older kits. So pushed in all the way to this catalytic converter, the front doesn't even reach. I had to adjust this. Trimming the suspension components that I've adjusted. I have no idea where these shocks go, but looking at the hole here and the angle, looks like it should go here, but there's no hole, there's no recessed spot for this shock to go in, so I'm just gonna put some glue here and hope it's in the general area. Heating up some pliers to press down on the plastic. That's how you kind of seal in that little rod there. Suspension components I put in later because I know the alignment might be off a little, so I should do it now rather than earlier. Cross member there, not sure why the cutouts don't match up. I don't know where to put this torsion bar. Instruction says to put it in here, but the other end there's no obvious spot. I think I figured out where these torsion bars go. So this is correct. It goes underneath that little cutout under this brace, but the point at where it meets this suspension piece, it should be higher up rather than low. Okay, because this cross brace has to go on it. So if it's too high, which is down here, too low, it's gonna get in the way. So just glue it up higher. Right there, and right there. Right there, and right here. Try to do things quick here, so using a Sharpie where I can. Usually I would paint these, I would mask it up to paint, but trying to do it quick style here, just to show you some techniques where you can speed things up if you don't want to do masking or brush painting tiny details. Sharpie works for a lot of the situations. Here's a gel pen. Sort of red details. There are gel pen, blue details. Always use paint retarder for Tamiya acrylics if you're brush painting. Can't really tell the color here. I probably should have selected a different gray. You can see how much thinner I add in, retarder I add in. I show you each of the drops. So you can kind of use some of these tips here, and you can adjust from there. More or less thinner or paint. More Sharpie, more gel pens. White gel pen is pretty handy too. Silver Sharpie. More Tamiya paints. Sanding down the tires to make them look more worn and realistic because they were way too shiny. I've used many different reds for this seat trim, and the only thing that worked was this chalk paint. Chalk paint came up over the opaque black. All the other pens was semi-transparent, made for white paper, so not good. Putting together the interior. Chalk paint, when it dries, is pretty durable. When it's not, it smears, but then it's easy to clean up. That's a good thing about it. The glass, nice and thin, but, you know, hard to put in. Look at that. It barely holds on.
Because it's not a good fit, I think I'll definitely need to use white glue.
Then you're touching it, so I want to polish it up. Make sure it's nice and clean and clear. Hopefully some tape will hold it together.
Alright, we'll see how it looks.
Using craft paint for some of the details on this kit to test it out. Good thing about craft paint is that it cleans up very easy. Easier than any acrylic or any other paint. Little weathering details.
I put the testers, clear parts, cement all around the edge. Hopefully it will form a good seal around it.
Okay, finally putting in the major components. Finishing up. Bringing out some of the details of the tonneau cover. Especially when these are usually worn a little.
Check it out. I am on the wheels right now, and this does not make sense. It says, do not glue for this rear wheel lock. But then for the front one, it says glue. For the back, it says glue the wheel, the rim. But for the front one, it says do not glue. So they swapped something here and something's not right. So I'm going to try to figure this out. So the wheel fits. Fits in here. Wheel lock. Since this will be hard to reach later.
You know, very tight fit. You gotta be very careful or things start popping off.
There it goes. Whew, some pressure is off. Whew. I think you should put the wheel together before squeezing it on.
One of my favorite chrome pens, chrome paints. Easy to use. Gives a great chrome finish. Almost mirror finish. So I think every car modeler should have a set of these pens. Testing out these sticky sticks to pick up small details to glue together, but as you can see in this video, I can't get the pieces off the sticky stick. It's way too sticky, so I cannot figure out how I can effectively use this for building models.
Ugh.
Better off with a tweezer.
Look at that. I could barely get it off.
Look at it.
That's
Bent down
not
shit.
good. Of course, it doesn't really fit. Edge of the chrome part of the brake light. Look at that. It's not even flush. This lens fits over
the whole assembly. Alright, let's try this again. Super sticky.
Again, these sticks were hard to use. Clear parts did not fit well. Flipped them all 4 directions. Nope. None fit. Gel pen's perfect for this GMC logo. I put silver underneath, then the red gel pen. Decal time. Alright, and then do a little red wash, thin it with some thinner, so seep down into the details of the wheels. It's hard to tell on here, but it did come out pretty good.
I am finally done with my quote-unquote quick build, but you know what? I've discovered something about myself and this kit. There's no such thing as a quick build for me. There were a lot of fit issues, a lot of sanding, adjusting, so it took a lot of work. Okay, so let me go through this kit for you. So I lowered the suspension, as you'll see in my video, how I did that. Otherwise, this truck would ride way too high. I adjusted the truck bed from the body, or else the gap would have been too big here. I used chalk paint to outline the red trim the seats, because paint doesn't really show up, because red paint doesn't show up against the black. The mirrors don't really look right, but they're close enough. I tested and proven that for Tamiya paints, you don't need a primer. I didn't prime this, so totally cool. You can see the headlights. All these lenses don't really fit well. These brake lights are a little bit too big. They stick out too big, so I had to paint the edge of it black so it doesn't stick out like a sore thumb. Here's the interior. Trying to do it quick and simple with primers and spray paints. The finish is fine. Usually I would sand and gloss coat and all that, but to do it quickly, I did not do that, and I think it came out fine. Here's the bottom. See that? A lot of adjustments. Put in different size plastic rods to adjust the suspension, which you can see in my video. If you want to know how to lower and adjust the height of Lindberg model kits. But what I've learned from this kit is that these old kits, they take so much time that I feel like the enjoyment, the time versus the enjoyment of the finished model, it doesn't really work out well. Like, I'd rather have spent all this time to build a kit that became like, that had the quality of a Tamiya kit, for example, right? Because after I was done looking at this kit, I wasn't completely satisfied with it, just because of fit issues, for example. I think for my next build, just build a kit that is enjoyable, that's fun, whether it takes a long time for masking, or there's a lot of parts, example, at least the process will be more fun. We'll be actually building, gluing, painting, and not trying to figure out problems, right? And then at the end, I'll probably spend the same amount of time on it, if not less, right? And then it'll be more enjoyable. The end product would probably look a lot better too, right? So here's my build. Thanks for watching.